Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Breaking the Block. I have completely forgot everything that we talk about when we talk about Breaking the Block. Basically, we go over any writerly related problems that we may be having or you may be having. So feel free to drop any questions in the comments area that you are having trouble with. For those who don't know, this is usually hosted by Sam Wicker over on Writer Sam Wicker's channel, but it is her birthday yesterday or today? Was it
Yesterday, I think.
Yesterday. And so she's taking the day off to do other things. And I am hosting instead. And if you don't know, my name is Skye. I am a fantasy author who typically writes paranormal romance under the name SD Hegyes. And I've got a couple guests with me today. So we're going to start with Rach and then go around in a circle.
Hello, I am Rach or Rachel D. Adams on my book covers, along with Dawn McClellan, who I see wound up in chat. We are releasing paranormal romance, urban fantasy stories. Probably when you think about it, 3 different types of series there, but also I run aggressively helpful writing advice, and I'm an author tuber, and I love to promote other authors and do as much as I can to help out. So that's what led me here.
Thanks. I am Lauren Nettles. I'm mostly write horror. I have a book out. It's a collection of 101 flashes, drabbles, and short stories. My computer is freaking out right now trying to load everything it has ever had. I don't know. Anyway, I am currently querying a middle grade horror, and my new work in progress is Crimson Strings, which draft 1 is complete, and I love the cover I made for it.
I love that.
Yeah. But so I am trying to compile all of my thoughts, all of my alpha reader feedback, and get ready for draft 2.
And Laura actually had a bunch of questions that we were going to be going over first during this session of Breaking the Block after I say hello to everyone. We got last night during my live stream, my typical Saturday night live stream, we got some of us got a taste of what was inside Crimson Strings. It was very good, but at the same time it was like, whoo, hello.
This is the infamous chapter. It's called chapter 2.
Already on chapter 2.
It was really good, but part of what we're going to be talking today has to deal with some of the things that happened in that chapters and further chapters. So let me say hi to everyone in the comments, and then we will get started on the first question. So Rachel is pulling double duty, saying hello to everyone in the comments before she even showed up on screen this morning.
Squirrel.
Angel is here. Hello and good morning. Inca is here. Hello. Let's see. Cat Paw is here. Good morning. There is Dawn. Hello. Eva is here. Eva said, congrats on the draft 1, and that cover is fabulous. How fun to hold it.
It is really fun. It's an actual book length. Like, what is this?
Beth is here. Hello. Good morning. Smutty is correct. She said that there was 8 spicy scenes, and I was like, woo!
But the spice scene in that one is not between the MCs.
No. I get a lot of smut reading reels because of my writer friends' genres.
You're welcome.
I don't even write spice, and I see a lot of spicy reels, and I'm just like, woohoo! All right. So, as far as, I think that's everyone I see in the comments. Okay, yes. I wanted to make sure that there didn't pop up anyone who said that. So Laura's first question today was, how do you decide if a story is a romance or has a romantic subplot? What's the difference in the midpoint or finale of a romance versus, say, an urban fantasy?
Because, I have, there's the midpoint turn, but my midpoint turn is more of like the romantic arc, but then my finale is the main character's main goal arc. And so it's like there's a mismatch going on, and like how do so it's like,
Is the romantic arc like the most, does it take up most of the book? Is it the main plot? That's how I was told to tell the difference, because I write because our books are considered urban fantasy, right?
uh-huh.
But it does have a major romantic subplot to it. So we also have like plot on top of plot on top of plot because of that. And so, but when it comes to our other books, our companion series books, they're the opposite. They're more paranormal romance with an urban fantasy subplot that goes along with it. So it's either or. It depends on what your main plot is and what you're in. And also I was told your inciting incident and your in the actual plot that connects everything, that's what decides whether or not it's urban fantasy or a paranormal romance.
Right now, my inciting incident for the first main character's main goal quest is off page before the story starts.
Okay.
So I should probably start earlier and actually show it, which will make the book even longer. And I have the meet cute on page though, which is in like chapter 5 technically. But like,
so that's correct. Like that's sounding like if you do the inciting incident for the main plot, then it would be an urban fantasy with a romance, a paranormal romance subplot. So with ours, the meet cute, like it's complicated. It's one of those relationships. It's like a relationship status. It's complicated. So you don't see the meet cute so much at first. It's over the phone, and they already know each other. So it's like, I was so confused when I took it to other people and was like, tell me what you think this is. Tell me what you think this is.
mm-hmm.
So, that's how we realized the main plot and the inciting incident and everything has to do with the main urban fantasy plot. But we do have the meet cute and all that stuff as the secondary plot. So I don't know. Have you gotten a bunch of alpha readers to tell you their opinions on it? Maybe get some other published authors in the genre to look at it and also give you feedback?
So I wish I had my mouse working. I have had a couple of alpha readers, and they have said this feels more paranormal romance. One of my alpha readers said it starts out urban fantasy and then goes paranormal romance. So yeah.
You may end up with a book that you're just going to have to put, both tags on whenever you list it somewhere, because that's what we have to do.
But like, I don't know if I should tag it dark romance because the world is dark and gritty, but the romance itself is not.
I got smacked on the hand for that. Because just because your world is dark and gritty doesn't mean like the romance is dark. They expect certain things when it comes to dark romance.
Yeah. If your romance itself is not dark, I would not label it as dark romance.
Because you'll get people that are disappointed.
Inca did say, I only call it romance if the romance is the point. And before we go any further, Mama Maggie just hopped on. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Mama Maggie.
Sorry, lovelies. There was a thing, and now I'm here. And of course, it's a perfect topic today with my lovely genre slut coffee mug for those of us who mash genres. Because hi, lovelies, I'm Mama Maggie Ward, independent author, stroke survivor, migraine overcomer, and I do write mashup genres. Fun fact with what lore is going on today: the Pagosa Cliffs Anemones series, the one about my baker. I actually lost a star on a review because I was told that it was urban grim dark. My story about now I know one of you have read it about the overcomer baker who lives in the harsh world, comes out of the harsh world of the Vegas underground to get adopted by some lovely doctor. She sees her mother kill her siblings growing. By the time she's 6 years old, she's seen her mother kill both of her siblings.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes to therapy and she starts getting out of that world, and she's adopted by a pair of lovely doctors. And I got really, really review bombed because one, I lost a star because I used the word virgin to imply a physical condition, because she does not. We won't go into the logistics of why the fact that 40% of American girls are not containing a hymen by the time that they make the choice to become sexually active, and that has to do with the extreme under prosecution of sexual crimes against children. So yeah, but she was like, this is not contemporary women's overcomer fiction. This is urban grim dark. And I'm like, why? Because her mother was a drug addicted nutcase, because her sister got involved with somebody from the Vegas mafia and who happens to be a criminal. That it's not urban. And so I completely understand Laura's, frustration, because you have something that has traits of a genre. I have traits of mafia because Millie's sister Marnie Ann worked for a strip club and brothel owned by the Valtini Mafia. And, I do have urban grimdark traits because Millie gets away from her violently abusive, drug addicted mother. And so, but the story isn't about that. Those are just traits of the world. The story is about Millie overcoming her trauma, starting her life over. By the time you get to Some Anemones Are Blue in the number 3 book, it does become a little more dark because Millie is working with a CSI she knows named Katie Husson, and they are trying to bring down the Valtini Mafia. In Anemones in the Wind, there is this kind of criminal element because she's running her bakery and her fiance has been lost at sea. Everyone assumes he's dead. His brother comes to take over Mac's vineyard. And so Millie's recovering from her grief, trying to deal with all that. And in the background, you find out that Mac's brother, Gilliam, has actually gone to work for the cartels and is selling drugs in Pagosa Cliffs, testing a new type of thing called Primo or Prime Time, which is a form of laced cannabis. So I have all those elements in the series, but it's not urban grim dark. So it's you can have elements of a different genre in your story and it not necessarily be that genre. Can you put in your tags that it has some of those traits in it? Oh, absolutely. That's
Keywords.
What the more tags, the more tags you can put on it, the better. And I think they've limited it. Amazon is limited to, what is it? 7 tags now? 8, 9. Is it 7 or 9?
7.
7.
They were talking about going up to 20, but then they discovered that if they allowed that, people would bait click, load things that were just barely mentioned in their story, and just to get that bait click. It's kind of like SJM's Valkyries. In her series, they're not, what she has in her series are not Valkyries. They're Amazon. But when she put that series out, when she wrote that series and everything, she tapped the name Valkyries onto them because of the whole Viking, the huge popularity of Viking themed everything when that book came out. So yeah, it's just because you have dark elements in your story, dark fantasy elements, doesn't necessarily make it a dark fantasy romance. So, as someone who genre mashes literally everything I write, I cannot stay in my lane on a genre if you cleared the 4-lane highway. If I was on a 1-lane genre road, I would have to have an off-road vehicle because I could not stay on the road. So don't worry about. And honestly, I don't think the genre rules really apply anymore. Genres are a guideline, not a rule, because there are so many tens of thousands of books out there that are, I am this genre.
Mm-hmm.
And readers don't look for those anymore. Readers, they want spicy things. They want fusion food and they want fusion genres for books. And this, Eva made this for me. Eva made this just for me. And this should be all of our goals. All of our goals. All the goals, all the spices, all the genres.
So I did do a little experiment last night. I wrote a query letter for Crimson Strings to see if I can see if it is what's it called? Paranormal romance. So do you mind if I share it?
Go ahead. Sure.
Go ahead.
Let's see.
We're here to help you. We're here to help you break the block.
It's like query letter.
And while you're pulling that up, I'm gonna go through some of these comments real quick. Let's see. Now I gotta figure out. I started and then I unstarted and I scrolled. Let's see. Inga, I'm making some super smutty merch right now. Rita's here. Hello. And Don was talking about Rachel's comment about having major themes and plots and stuff. Eva said, I don't read romance, but I don't avoid romantic subplots. Would I DNF your book? I'd probably not pick it up as it sounds romance to me with knowing there are 8 smutty scenes. That's a lot of romance focus. And I do agree with that, especially with combining what Inka said with Rachel, what Rachel said about the romance being the plot, the point, going based on your inciting incident. You said the meet cute was in like chapter 4 or 5, but the inciting incident of like the Ehrman's fantasy plot line was even before the book began. And I feel like whatever your inciting incident is going to drive your main genre. Okay, I see that you shared it. Give me a second. Everyone's saying hi to Maggie. I want to make sure I get through them real quick.
Oh, sorry.
Sarah's here. Hello. I had coffee and now I can survive.
Yay.
Okay.
So I with Dawn and Rachel's books.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. So this is, I'm dating myself. Back in the days, romance novels had one smexy scene.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Then it went up to 3 smexy scenes. And then it was fade to black or spicy. That was the dividing line between whether it was erotic romance or regular romance. And there's only 3 scenes, mind you. Only 3 scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Determines that.
That is not the case anymore.
50 Shades of Grey changed that.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple scenes. And then there was this huge avalanche from 2015, 2016 into 2020 where everything was just in order to be erotic, you had to have a spicy scene every third chapter or every other chapter. And it's like, that's what they were coaching people on. They were saying, oh yeah, every other chapter has to have a spicy scene. And the spicy scene has to be 2 to 4 pages long. And and this thing happened where we got sucked down this erotica wormhole in romance, where even the Amish romances were having these spicy scenes in it. And it's like, what the blickety blick is even going on here? And it's like, and literally there's, and it's not happening with the younger generation of readers, the TikToker generation of readers, because, they're thirsty readers, thirsty, unhappy, unsatisfied college age-ish girls and men, and fortunately, gay romances got sucked into this wormhole where male romance encounters became extremely fetishized, which once or twice in a book is okay, but every other chapter and you're not.
Yeah, I think that's what shocked me was the first time I read something from the Omegaverse. I was just like,
yeah,
wait, what? Like it's literally every single chapter, and I'm like, there's no plot here. Like there's no other plot.
And so now there's this it started with my generation, the over 50 women who are like, we just want we want some story, and with a sprinkle of with some smutty sprinkles. We don't want just, okay, where's this where you're flipping past pages of gratuitous smexy time to find the plot. And it's like the first Omegaverse book that I read, to see what the hype was about. I read it and I was like, are they all like this? And like, yeah, and I was getting, everyone was like throwing these recommendations at me. And I was like, there was some of them that there was one that I literally went through and highlighted all of the story elements in one color, because you can do that on Kindle. That's a nice thing on Kindle. And highlighted all the smexy time in pink. It turns out that only 12% of that particular book that was like a couple million copies sold. Only 12% of that story was actual story. So I think we're shifting back into a place where readers want story with their smexy time. And which is good for us as indie writers, because being able to write romance, even as a B or C plot, into our stories gives us a tap into that super giant market.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, we're Laura having 3 scenes in a book, 4 scenes in a book.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they're super spicy scenes, because wow, you could make a potato sweat, girl. Yeah. You would barely be considered erotic. Even the paranormal feature is definitely there, but with only 4 scenes, are you really an erotic writer? And so yeah,
I'm thinking of cutting it down to 4 scenes.
Okay.
So, because right now the romance moves way too fast. So.
Oh, is it a lust man's?
That's a new one.
Is it a lust man's that turns into a romance?
Well, there's aphrodisiac involved.
So it is a lust man's.
I guess. They did know each other before, so it's unrequited love that gets aphrodisiac, and then it goes from there.
Sarah said, for me, I don't care if there's 2 or 12 smutty scenes. If they move the character and or the plot forward.
I think the most annoying one that I saw was a I was reading, and the characters like hid in a cave like during a battle / escape scene. And I'm sorry, but if you're being chased by a horde that intends only your murder, you are not going to stop for some cavey swim pool smexy time.
Of course, we're going to take a break for that. Yeah.
For
Totally.
for 4 pages. No, you're not. Because it does not heighten the sexual arousal to be able to hear them searching for you.
Of course it does. There's the chance you could get caught.
Caught and killed.
All right, Laura, do you want to read what you've got here for your query letter that you were working on, and we can see based on that what we're going with?
Okay, so this is if I market it as a paranormal romance to an agent. It says Crimson Strings is an adult paranormal romance complete at 83k words, blending 90s Scotland with vampire mafias vying for control of an entrance into hell itself. Hadrian is a half-Japanese-born vampire on a mission to save his mother from the head of the Scottish vampire mafia, who have taken her as collateral against Hadrian's father. When Hadrian walks into hell and makes a deal with Satan, he gains the ability to see a red string of fate that ties him to his fated soulmate, one Satan promises will help him free his mother. Victor, the heir of the Russian vampire Bratva, arrives in Scotland on 2 missions, intertwined and destined for blood. When a curse keeping him and Hadrian breaks apart, he must make the decision to trust the man getting close to him just to use him in his own plans, or shun what the fates have dictated and enact his own desperate means to his own end. I actually wrote... I wish I had a mouse. Hang on.
That definitely does make it seem like paranormal romance. That makes it look like the romance itself is definitely the focus.
Yeah, I would say paranormal romance
versus the other plot line.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, I changed it up a little bit in apparently the version I posted on Discord. Let me open that real quick. Come on!
I want to get my blurb writing.
Where you said when the curse keeping him and Hadrian apart breaks. Something to shift it more away from the like romance aspect of it is make it sound like he is struggling to continue on mission while resisting the romance, because his mother is more important than Hadrian, or so he.
That could be a major part of the. That could be a major sentence in the blurb itself. The fact that he's got to decide, or there's something there.
Or that his mother is the most important thing, but there's this thing that's also pulling him into the other direction.
That personal inner conflict, like Dawn said.
Yeah, make it. It does sound very. The blurb sounds very paranormal romance, but you can flip it to make it sound more like, adventure with, or paranormal adventure with the romance in the background. Like, just hint that his mother is the more important goal, but he's getting distracted by this side thing. And he's questioning everything, like whether he wants the side thing more than his mother. But he had, but being from that Asian honor-bound background, family is the very, if he's from like an Asian mafia kind of background, honor is everything, is literally everything. And it's how much can you put aside?
I guess the question is, what do you want to do? Do you want it to be more focused on the paranormal romance aspect of it, or do you want it to be more on the urban fantasy aspect of it? Because if you want the paranormal romance to be the main thing, then you don't need to make as many changes as what we've been talking about.
Okay, so Laura said that her mic went out when she opened Discord. She has to restart her computer.
Okay.
Feel free. I just wanted to interject that real quick.
I knew that she was struggling, but I was like, what's going on?
And I tried unmuting her myself after she posted that comment. So I was like, oh, maybe I can help. Nope, I can't.
Well, since we're all genre mashers here, we're all genre sluts. We write in multiple genre, the three of us here. When we have stories, just for you personally, when you look at that story in your mind, what is the first thing you think of when you have several genres put together and you're mashing them together? Mm-hmm. As the author, what is the first genre that you lean toward when you are looking at your own work? Versus with reader mind, when you look at a story, what do you think the first genre they see is? Because what the author sees in our minds and what the reader sees are very different things sometimes, as what happened to me with Red Velvet and Anemones.
Yep. For me personally, because I'm romantic at heart, so even if there isn't romance in there, my brain automatically looks for it. Like, I could know from the get-go that there is no romance at all in a book, and my brain is still looking for it.
You like to ship people.
I do like to ship people. I'm like, these two are totally going to get together. They never do, but they're totally going to get together. And that's coming from both the writer aspect as well as the reader aspect for me personally, because my brain is always going there first. And even if it's not like a romantic relationship as far as like a coupling, even if it's just like really close friendship, I'm like, yes! Give me that bromance, yes. Oh.
Mine has just been, we write it, we let the characters do what they want to do, and we felt like we wanted the romance to be important, but at the same time, we took out some of the scenes because we were just like, it's taking away from the main plot. So we realized that this could still be a romance. This could still be a paranormal romance subplot, but the main plot needed to carry through all 5 books. And so that's why we were like, okay, well, it's going to be a happily ever after sort of, but at the same time, they're going to have to work for it. So like the first book, there's not even, it's like it starts off really steamy, that give of finally they're gonna do something, but then it fades to black because we wanted to hold off and give that as kind of the midpoint.
Welcome back, Laura.
Welcome back.
Okay. So the question, because we're all genre masters here, we're talking about is when you as writer brain looks at the book, which genre does your brain pick up on first versus when as reader brain you look at the book, which genre does your brain look at first? Because writer brain living in the world and reader brain just meeting the world are very different brains. Mm-hmm. So when you look at your book as a writer, which genre is the first click? Versus if you were a reader who had no connection to this world looking at this book, which genre would be the first click? Hi, Margaret.
I think readers would do paranormal romance. There's just so many subplots. Oh my gosh.
This is
that's
the first
fine.
book of the series, you said, correct?
Yeah.
So the fun thing about that is you don't have to you don't have to tie up all the plots in one book either for that reason.
Okay, but my alpha reader feedback from across the board is, holy cow, this is moving at breakneck speed. I need to catch my breath.
Well, I mean, you can
maybe there should be 2 books. Like,
you can still slow the romance down. You can still
not
slow
just
the romance down.
Everything is moving too fast.
Okay.
It's just, okay, kidnapped, tortured, go out, kidnapped, tortured. It's just like, ah!
Well, Well, see, that actually like goes perfect with our next question that we came up with last week for the thing, which is about B plots. So in writer brain, you think that this is a supernatural romance with urban sprinkles.
Urban fantasy or
Reader
paranormal
brain.
elements was the question.
In your reader brain, that's what you think. And not to make the pun, but you've basically got the supernatural romance with urban whipped cream on the top. So and some mafia sprinkles, because that's what it sounds like.
I suppose I don't. It's more like a creamer, not just a whipped cream. Like it is in the whole shebang.
So you've got parallel troping. You've got parallel genre troping.
Yeah.
So that are just like braided together like a rug. So it's like a double helix DNA. You can't really separate the two of them.
I think so.
Okay.
Like
already being mafia and vampire, just the main character being mafia and vampire together, you've already got the hook in there, the two of them hooked together in there.
Yes.
And the fact that he goes to the demons and says, yo, I need a thing.
Mm-hmm.
That pushes you even further into paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
How far in? Okay, so you said it comes in the third or fourth chapter.
So the meet cute starts in chapter 4, but the actual first words together is chapter 5.
Okay.
Okay.
The other thing, Dawn brought up a good point too here. I think my opinion depends on what genre I'm reading. And can you hold up the cover you have for it real quick?
So this is them with the crimson string.
That looks like a paranormal romance.
Paranormal romance.
So I'm going to expect a paranormal romance plot with that. And yes, this is one you're looking at querying, so it's going to probably be traditionally published.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when I go to pick up a book, we all judge books by the cover, no matter what we say. That cover is going to tell me what kind of genre I'm reading. And that will decide what my expectations going into it will be. And yes, I know you're trying to decide what those expectations should be right now. That's the whole point of this question. But at the same time, if you have the elements that will factor into what those genres will be, oops, I didn't mean to do that, but that worked.
Yeah.
Train of thought derailed with that. Jesus.
Yeah, everyone in the chat's agreeing that it looks like dark romance or paranormal romance in that cover. So for that, the blurb you have would work.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Right. So this is the updated blurb.
Got an updated blurb? Oh, this is the one that you said you had posted to Discord.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me read it.
Okay.
Laura, just sit and listen, because you're right now. I love you, sweetheart. I love you so much, but you're like me, and you go down the OCD writer rabbit hole where your brain gets so encapsulated in the world that you can't hear it in any other way but your own thoughts. So I'm going to read it. Crimson Strings is an adult paranormal romance complete at 83,000 words, blending 90s Scotland with vampire mafias vying for control of an entrance to hell itself. Hadrian is a half-Japanese-born vampire on a mission to save his mother from the head of the Scottish vampire mafia, who has taken her as collateral against Hadrian's father. When Hadrian walks into hell and makes a deal with Satan for help with saving his mother, he gains the ability to see a red string of fate that ties him to his fated soulmate. Someone Satan promises will help him free his mother, and more. Victor, the vampire heir of the Russian vampire Bratva and a general in Satan's army, arrives in Scotland with 2 intertwined missions destined for blood. When a curse keeping him and Hadrian apart breaks, he must make a decision to trust the man only getting close to him with the purpose of using him in his own plans, or shun what the fates have dictated to enact his own desperate ploy to end his life once he's recovered his brother's soul, so they may be reunited in the next reincarnation together as soon as possible.
So the two query letters we've looked at have focused on this as a paranormal romance. Have you written the query letter where it focuses on it as an urban fantasy out of curiosity?
Not yet.
Okay. Because I know you were flip-flopping between those two genres, so I was curious if you had.
Mm-hmm.
Reading this with a different intonation, it makes it sound like Hadrian and Victor are destined to not choose each other.
I know!
So you would need to add a little bit of something to make the stakes of them choosing each other versus not choosing each other, because they both have that burden of choosing family over love. So maybe just as an afterline, put in 2 men, 2 missions, and with fate being something that they either need to ignore or embrace in the end. But it will cost them the things that, the things they are seeking most to do.
Fate or family.
And maybe point out that Victor has his own agenda.
Mm-hmm.
He's helping Hadrian under orders, but he has his own agenda here.
Because I think you should also mention Victor's agenda up top in his section, and then the intertwined missions and the possibility of him getting together with Hadrian as the secondary part of that paragraph. Because, I don't know, it just breaks the flow for me, because you've got who they are, then what their drive is that leads into this. And then you mentioned that there's a soulmate, and in Hadrian's part, and then in Victor's part, it's kind of flipped.
Are they? And
and if it's paranormal romance, you want to mention
is it part of Satan's? Here's a question: is Satan trying to get his hands on Hadrian? And that is what, and knowing that Hadrian and Victor are soulmates, that is why he put them together.
So
is that the D plot? Is that the demon plot? The D plot is hoard the souls.
So this whole making a deal with Satan is gonna be new for draft 2. In draft 1, Hadrian wanted to court Victor, and so gave a letter of intent to Victor's father. And Victor's father was heck to the no and cursed him, and then beat Victor within an inch of his life. And so the bond formed to save Victor's life, because you can drain energy from one to the other so that one doesn't die off sooner than the other. So that was draft 1. This one, I'm wondering if that still happened, but then Hadrian will be able to see the string now, instead of being like, what the heck is going on? Because only Victor can see it in the beginning. So I don't know.
So the last line of Hadrian's thing: someone Satan promises will help him to free his mother and more. But has his string of fate become a chain to bind him to hell?
Ooh.
That would be
If he
like
chooses-
the last
fate-
part.
Yeah, choosing fate over family means betraying his honor, and he must make a choice. He must choose fate over family, because it sounds like from the story he's not going to be able to have both.
That's the thing. He does get both.
He does get both.
He does get both.
Okay. Well, here. Okay. So we need to reword it.
So what you do is
facing the choice of fate over family. Can he
find a way to have both?
And those questions are things that you need to put at the end.
Is there a way for him to have
hook?
Yeah. And then down at the end of Victor's, put choosing his fated or his family. Victor faces, and he has to face the exact same struggle as Hadrian.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fated or family. With 3 souls. Well, technically it's 4 souls in the balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole thing is, it's the whole thing in the background is not only is it the mafia control thing, it is the thing. Ask the hook questions, yeah. At the end of Victor's Wood, will he choose his fated or his family, or find a way to have both? I think the question at the end of Hadrian's was good, but yeah. Okay, so where it says but has, put Victor's or Hadrian's. Has the string of fate become a change? Okay, that's good. And then fated or family. Is there a way for them to have both?
Follow-up question from Don is, will his family accept his choices, or will he have to give up one or the other?
He's gonna have to kill off his dad, but he saves his mom.
Both fated. See, just those 2 sentences changed the whole feel of your... But has the string of fate become a chain to bind them both to hell? Is there a way for them to have both fated love and family?
Mm-hmm.
Question, does Victor know they're soulmates? This is totally... Or does he figure it out pretty quickly?
In draft 2, I think, when Satan gives Hadrian the ability to see the string of fate, I think it's gonna... I don't know. In draft 1, Victor's the one who can see it, and Hadrian can't until like halfway through. In draft 2, I'm thinking of flipping it so Hadrian can see it from his deal, and then having... I think Victor will catch on pretty quick and be like, Satan, but may you interfere in my love life?
We love a good interference.
You're a general in your army doing this for a cause. Like, stop it.
Well, the thing is if you're Russian mafia, if you're Radva, you'd be like, you'd just be like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Just really? Give me some more vodka. I have a headache now. Give me the vodka.
I like how Rachel put this out. Intro to the world. Intro character 1, the complication with the family, the connection with the love. Intro character 2, complication with the family, connection with the love, and then ask the questions. And it lines up as a paranormal romance in an urban fantasy world with elements of dark romance and dark fantasy.
Awesome.
But that's just my opinion. But that's what it looks like.
That, I was going to say,
Now
based
that
on
we've
what
done
I've
the
seen.
whole, looking at the blurb and that kind of thing.
Okay. And all of that leads into one of Laura's next questions. You mentioned that the romance moves too fast, is already 83 for book 1. More buildup needs to be added, but there are so many subplots to balance. Any advice on how to slow a romance without it ballooning, or is it okay to split the book up? It's already going to be the first in the series.
So
For this part, I usually use my whiteboard. Because, we had 20 years of writing that we were trying to figure out how to make into 4 books. It actually wound up being 5 books. Why? Because once I started putting it out on the whiteboard and I put out all of the plots, I put down one side, I put all the characters, and then I made sure that in each book they had their plots mentioned. And I wanted to make sure that I tied up all the plots by the end. And to be able to do that, I realized, we're going to have to spread it out 1 extra book than I thought originally. And I don't know. For me, I'm such a visual person that seeing it on this white, I'm looking up because my whiteboard is against that wall. The being able to see it visually made me realize all of that, and it made it so helpful for me to be able to go, okay, I love this scene in book 2, but honestly, this scene in book 2 does so much better in book 4 than it ever did in book 2. So being able to kind of move things around, I know Plotter is really good for that if you are more of a digital person, because you can make the little cards inside the app and then move them around. Or, you could just use cards, index cards, and be like, okay, this is this scene, this is this scene, make scene cards, and then go, I really love that scene. I don't want to get rid of it. But does it do the best it could do, have the most impact in this particular plot of this book, or should I move it to another book? And like you said, you're already going to make a series out of it. So don't be too stubborn about, hey, it's got to go just in this order, period. And that's my advice. I'm just like, I like to look at things and figure out where it could go and be willing to go, this might be an extra book.
So book 1 was going to be Hadrian's mission of saving his mother. Book 2 was going to be Victor's mission of saving his brother.
Okay.
And then book 3 was going to be the Holy War and then the ultimate happily ever after.
Okay.
Nice.
With if you do label it as a paranormal romance, here's going to be the biggest thing that you are going to have to run into in order to please the romance lovers is your ending of each of these books has to be either a happily ever after or a happily for now.
Yes.
So if you are going to market it as a paranormal
You
romance,
still have your cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Because
you
they
do
have
have
to
a
have. They have to have a little bit of happiness with the cliffhanger. Also,
Yes.
the thing you wrote, is that for the whole trilogy?
Book 1.
that's just
Okay,
Well-
because it sounds like they have equal weight.
Book 1 and 2. Yeah.
Okay, that's book 1 and 2. Okay, because it sounds like that blurb makes it sound like they have equal weight.
It's dual POV.
Okay.
So if you're doing just Hadrian's story in book 1, then you need to focus your blurb on Hadrian mostly, and then book 2 needs to be focused mostly on Victor.
Mm-hmm.
So just be aware, because right now that, like Mama Maggie was saying, that blurb is giving them equal weight, and you're not going to get into Victor's part from what you just said until book 2.
We he needs that part to even get to Scotland. Like, he has these missions that he's doing, and one of them is to save his brother's soul. But he gets sucked into Hadrian's plot, and so his plot line gets derailed a bit to fulfill Hadrian's, and so we fulfill Victor's in book 2.
Okay.
Okay, I see.
Maybe not have as much of Victor's past in the blurb. Say, assigned to assist Hadrian. Victor has his own agenda, which
that focuses it on Hadrian, right?
Which ends up falling. How would you say this? Victor has his own agenda for joining Hadrian in Scotland, but the strings of fate are
merciless.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Victor has his own reasons
Satan's
for being in
machinations
Scotland.
and the strings of fate.
But when he meets up with Hadrian, boom.
Yeah. See, I had this issue. I wrote Relic of Time War basically as 5 200 plus K books. And I have divided it into 12 books now that are between 80 and 100K each. And I ended up dividing plot points at people's deaths. A major battle or someone's murder or someone's death, and then a little bit of something happens after it with the stakes for the next book coming obvious. So it works as a hook, and then going into the next book. Now, when I wrote The Huntsman of Adamos, I wrote that as the whole thing, honor, heart, horror, or hatred, horror, and then hope. All 5 of those books was one long book, and then I ended up taking the first 4 and making them their own books. And when I reshuffled and redivided them, I ended up actually splitting them based on location. I know that sounds weird, but there ended up this weird cyclic thing in each story where the books basically started and stopped in the same place. They started and stopped at the castles of Adamos. They started and stopped in the city of the kings. They started and stopped at the strongholds of Zelusia on Etheria, and then on Zelusia Prime. So it's choosing where to divide them when you're splitting them. And this might just be a me thing, but the place where you end the book needs to have like ripples in a pond, a little bit of reflection of the place where the 2 characters started their story together. So if they met at the gates of hell, there needs to be a little ripple of that at the end before you go on to Hadrian's story, so that, this is the thing that we escaped from. This is the thing that this is the thing we're overcoming. This is the thing that is in the background of our thoughts. Because we all know that Satan wants to drag them both down there because he's greedy. And if he can get Hadrian's mother and Victor's brother too, well, all the more for him. Hi, Sarah. Yeah, it's slowing the romance. The thing is if there's an aphrodisiac involved and it's a fated romance, you might be able to skirt by with the lustmance starting earlier, but there needs to be some consequences for the lustmance.
Yeah.
That delays the romance.
Yeah.
Hadrian telling Victor, I am not your play toy. I bought you to work for me to save my mom. And I don't care about this thread that ties us together. My mom.
We got more important things to worry about than trying to love each other. Lives are
internal conflict.
Running into the cave to have smexy time during the middle of a battle isn't you.
I don't have time for this.
We don't have time for this. The endorphins can wait.
So I just looked up paranormal romance word counts, and it seems like it can be 85 to 100K.
Oh,
Does that sound
absolutely.
correct?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mine are very, very short compared to the average. I'm over here writing 60K stories, 60 to 70.
Yeah. Our little stories, our companion stories are like 70, and the books that we put out normally are like 85. So
You got plenty of wiggle room.
yeah, there's
Okay.
plenty of wiggle room. You just don't want to go, like, on average, from what I was told, you don't want to go over 100,000 because that's more epic fantasy situation. That's
Yeah.
epic fantasy territory or
Relic of
fantasy
Time
romance
Wars falls.
territory.
Relic of Time Wars falls into kind of that epic fantasy kind of a thing, but it's like an epic sci fantasy. It's not a space opera, and it's not an epic fantasy. It's like they squirted out a baby and left it on the hillside for me to find. And my bees brought it back to me with all of the plot bunnies and plot hummingbirds and plot bees and all of the idea of meadow flowers just waiting. So yeah, I could have gone 150, 200K per book. But because of the way attention time is compressing, and people like George R. R. Martin has some amazing world building. He got some chunky books, and winter has been delayed again.
I don't think he's ever going. I think we're going to hear about his funeral before we hear about the release of the last part of the book, and I think he's going to be laughing at us about it too.
Well, I saw this TikTok meme where he was like, he's secretly the king of hell. It was the book golem, and he's like, he's the king of Helvala, and he's already released the book in hell, and the rest of us have to go there to get it.
All right. I like Dawn's comment because it actually leads directly into Lauren's last question that she had. Against the ground, on the ground, against the wall, on the ground, in the water, with hordes pounding at the door. There's never a wrong time. Which leads into Laura's last question. How do you decide what type of spice scenes to write in your story? Is it based off of reader expectations for the genre, personal taste, or the characters themselves?
For me, it was
Honestly,
the characters
for me,
themselves.
it's based on the style of writing. It's based on the style of writing of the author, because well, Rachel heard me ranting about that. I don't know if you were here, Skye, but I had just finished a book where the author, everything, it was written like a YA book on the literature style level, but it was a cowboy romance, and it was very obvious by the time I got to the spicy scene that they'd had someone else write the spicy scene.
Oh, no, I don't remember that one. So,
it's the one that I was griping about, that they used the word "said" 11 times on one Kindle page.
Oh, I guess my brain focused on that. Yeah.
So
It's like, you don't have to tag every single one.
If the style of the book, and I am very sensitive to style of writers. Like, one of the things is I'm very fast to find ghostwriters. Like, I can read Dawn and Rachel's books, and I know which one wrote which part just by reading it. Because my brain is like, their styles, even though their styles are like really good ghostwriters writing off of each other, there are little things, and I don't know how to describe them, but I can tell who wrote which part. And I don't mind that at all. I because they're so close together, and it's obvious that that the two styles are so overlapped and into each other. But the thing is when you are weaving them together, like, if you go spicy, if you want, does the spicy contribute? Like it was said earlier, I don't remember who said it earlier. I think it was Dawn, or was it Dawn? Hold on. If the spicy contributes to the story, then yes, please have some spicy. But if the spicy is just there to be there for spicy's sake, please don't. We have enough of those from the pre-2020s to read for a lifetime. If you're looking for spicy for the sake of spicy, there's this whole thing called the Omegaverse. You can go over there. And I know there's the Dark Fae-verse. That's a whole thing too. Is literally Dark
with
Fae.
urban fantasy and paranormal romance, it's kind of all over the place when it comes to expectations from genre.
Mhm.
So I would take that off the question list. Like Mama Maggie says, if it kind of mixes with the characters and if it goes along with the plot. The characters are in the moment and that's what happens. And as long as there's consequences and there's, something that's gonna come of it, that's usually character development, then go for it. That's my advice. When we wrote lots of smexy scenes, and man, we had all of those in there, but at the same time, once we started reading it as the characters developing that romance, we realized it was actually better as a slow burn. Like we could have had that scene at the bar. We could have had that scene in the lair really quick. But the characters were actually like talking to us as we were writing. It's like, but would he do that? Because he's so kind of uptight. Why would he do that? And why would he do that here? And we realized that sometimes it was just us. We wanted to do a smexy scene at that point, and then we let the characters start talking, and we started going, okay, well, to the plot and the character, would this work? Plot, character, would this one work? And so we wound up cutting some of the scenes out of it, and we just used those as extra content that we can give later, or we can actually move that scene to somewhere else, because it just didn't make sense with the plot right then. It's that cave moment that my Mama Maggie's talking about. It's like,
we're being chased, but we're going to stop and have smexy times
yeah,
right now. Woo!
Yeah, I just had my life almost taken from me, but sex, it's like no.
I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it kind of makes sense for the demons, but because you have a succubus and an incubus, but those two are very aware of their power and when to use it and when to wait.
So my question was about so the type, do you write explicit wording spice scenes versus emotional overture spice scenes where it's more euphemistic? How do you know which way to lean?
My audience is going to lean into explicit. So that's what we write. We do use, we make sure that we are also capturing the emotions. I don't know that we are making sure we capture their emotions. That just happens. We write their emotions as it's happening. But does that mean that I back off of the phrasing and describing exactly what's happening? No. We fade to black on the first book because it just made sense. But that first portion of that chapter is very detailed about what they're doing with each other. And then it fades. Then once we get to that midpoint turn, when they are both engaged and they are both, okay, this is happening. That entire scene is very detailed, very explicit, but at the same time, we are also going into the characters' emotions and how they feel.
The smexy scene does carry the emotional weight of the choices that they are making and how they're bonding.
Yeah.
So, a question for you is, for the emotional weight, do they, okay, they both have very strong emotions about saving their family members.
Mm-hmm.
What are their emotions about each other?
And so the first Smexy time scene with the aphrodisiac, it's more of a lust thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you express the emotions that they have after that scene? Is there any expression of that, or is it something you're putting in draft 2?
That scene literally ends with them being kidnapped before they go too far, and then it's a rescue mission right off the bat. So, like,
but there'll still be an emotional of what the or did we just almost
there's a little bit of that in chapter, like 2 chapters later, but that's definitely one of my notes that I got was I need to expound upon that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, so like my draft 1 is very explicit language with the sex scenes, and I read this book, which has very classy, I don't know if you would say, like, versions of spice scenes where they're not naming anatomy parts, and it's very like so it's like nah.
Okay, I think you're overthinking it. I think for draft 2 you need to go through and put the thoughty parts, put the romancy thoughty parts, emotional parts in,
Mm-hmm.
and then like just put your spices in there and just leave them there. Don't tamper with them. And then when you go back on the third pass, then go back and determine, okay, here's the emotional parts, here's the spicy parts. How do I balance the weight of these and the weight of the language? Because that is something we don't talk about a lot in AuthorTube, is the weight of the language you use.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have these very poignant emotional things going on, like Hadrian being just completely just struggling with, I have this honor bound persona, but it's my mom, and that weight of bearing down on him, and here's my soulmate, but Satan, damn it,
Nola touchy.
And I think that going through and back looking at the weight of the words between there, and it's like, you say that it's got this very crass language versus this very classical, like classy type language. Let's just
It is very emotional as it stands. Like, it's emotional, but it's still crass. So it's like, I don't know.
Okay, you're too into it right now. Like I'm saying, you're too far down the writer rabbit hole. Just leave those scenes as they are. Write your adjustments in around them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have some distance for those scenes, because you just wrote those scenes not long ago, like in the last few months.
Yeah.
So give yourself some time to step back from those scenes, because we've all had this where we've read someone's book and gotten, I'm such an imposter. My writing sucks. Everything I've ever done sucks. Raise your hand.
I'm going through that right now.
Yep.
So yeah, you need to step back from those scenes. You just like they're just go, oh look, it's a nice painting on the wall, and walk to the next gallery. So yeah,
Dawn's point, how comfortable are you with that wording?
Mm-hmm. Because that's where I come in. Because you guys are talking about writing spice, and I do not like writing spice. It makes me very uncomfortable. Have I written it? Yes. Am I good at it? I don't know. That's not for me to judge. That's for readers to judge. I don't care. And then when I'm reading it, I mentioned on my stream last night that there comes a point, if there's too many spicy scenes, I start skimming over spicy scenes and reading until I know that they're done.
It's not as special anymore. It's not as
yeah. Especially with like romance these days, especially like with the new budding of romantasy, it feels like they're just there to figure out how many different positions can we have smexy times in, as many times in this book as we can. That's what it feels like to me. So when I'm writing, I focus more on the characters' emotions and how they feel with what's going on. And if that leads to a spicy scene, great. If it doesn't, that's fine too. And I definitely, for my own works, I tend to lean into more of the foreplay leading up to spicy scenes, which can still get really spicy, honestly.
Tension is amazing.
Tension is amazing. I am all about the sexual tension between two characters leading up, and then I tend to most of the time write like closed door smexy times themselves. That doesn't mean you're not still fanning yourself about how things are going between the characters before those closed doors, but I think with the leading into the characters' emotions and how they feel about not only about themselves, but how everything is going on around them at the moment in time. I think we're always going to go back to we're running from everyone, but we're going to stop and have spexy times in this cave as we're hiding. Don't be too loud.
As the armies of the enemy are searching desperately for us to murder us.
But also, don't let a book like that completely influence you, considering your book is going to be so different from that book. I have it. That's what I was looking for. I was like, I've got it. That book on my shelf. And it's beautiful language.
I haven't read it.
It's a great write. It is a great write. It really is. It's 4.5 stars all the way.
Yeah.
But the thing is
you can do both.
You can do both, but it's right now you're in that honey glow of I love this book and this style so much.
And Laura is amazing with description, y'all. That's what I mean. Anybody that's watching this, go watch something with her reading her descriptions. She even did AWC, I think it was. She did it with descriptions.
On description, so, go watch Laura's AWC.
Use what you are an expert at. And actually, take a break, skip all those scenes, then come, like Mama Maggie says, skip those scenes, then come back and remember, you are an expert at description. And you can put both emotion and description into your books because it's a paranormal romance. So, remember that.
Leave the lust mance on the side and work on weaving the rest.
Because it's partially a mental block for me of the stigma of writing like a straight up romance of like it's basically an erotica right now, and so it's like is it okay that I've written that? Do I need to analyze my mind and be like, you are broken here and here, and you're just trying to extrapolate your broken childhood into this story and like psychoanalyze myself by what I've done? And it's like, I don't know.
I think for you personally, because you've had so many questions around the genre and like what genre it is, you said you've gotten some alpha feedback on other things to fix. I feel like what you should do is completely ignore the spy scenes for now and fix some of those other plot lines and stuff that your alpha readers were mentioning, and maybe go back after you've fixed those and reread the spy scenes to see how you feel about them then. Do they
work with those new set of plot lines and
stuff?
Yeah. And FYI, your stories you're writing, while they are an expression of you and possibly of your own childhood damage, they don't reflect on you in any negative connotation. It is just you are putting out these words on the page.
Right.
And even as much as writers, we like to reflect ourselves in our books, whether consciously or unconsciously, you don't have to. I mean, look at Stephen King. He definitely does not go and hack people up and bury them in cursed places.
That we
And-
know yet.
That's a side job we don't know about.
Well, yeah, but no, it's like Margaret Atwood writing the extension of puritanical life
Mm-hmm.
into The Handmaid's Tale, and it reflecting her extreme dislike of Christianity, and other people who were anthropology majors in college looking at it going, but yeah, this exact culture exists in 4 different places in the world in modern times at this exact moment, but because one of those religions' names starts with an I, we're not allowed to mention that. So does that, is she inherently dealing with her trauma, dealing with her religious parents? Yeah, she is. Does that mean there is anything flawed or wrong with her because she is writing that? No, it does not.
No.
Yeah, it's like,
And so I know that you and I come from this very similar background, and that our grandmothers would clutch their pearls reading some of the things written. So much pearl clutching, they would strangle themselves to death with little bead marks indented in their throats.
Got their fans out or waving them at their
But
faces.
that does not mean there's anything wrong with you mentally or emotionally, or that does not devalue you as a person just because you are writing this style.
I'm just
and I know
wondering if I'm pushing so far against what I was raised as that I'm going too far.
I created an entire new religion, and I created an entire society where there is no religion. So
Yeah.
it's that weight does not belong on your words. These are an expression of your creativity. Writing this, did it make you happy to write it? Did you have fun?
It did.
So
there you
2 years to pants this draft, but
So there you go. There you go. Months and months and months of work. And now that little voice of the imp in your head is yelling at you in that
Don't let the imp win. Don't let that imp
in
in
the
your head win.
puritanical voice,
No.
saying there is something wrong with you. And yeah,
I never would have met Dawn or any of my other co-writers and friends out there had I listened to the imp in my head and stayed with the conservative background that was being taught to me from birth on up. So I'm a firm believer in, hey, you wrote it, it is worthy. You just have to figure out how to mold it into the plot. And if it doesn't work with your plot, just stay on that. Don't go into the personal background or anything like that in your head. Don't let the imp bother you. Just stay focused on, okay, does it work with that plot that I just fixed? Not really? Okay, let me take that out. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to make it part of a extra
newsletter
stuff, a newsletter. I'm using it on what is the new
Substack.
I'm going to do Substack is what I think I'm going to actually do for a lot of the extra stuff.
And
So-
honestly, once you finish, like, you got the feedback from your alpha readers about the emotional side of the plot, about the action side of the plot, about that part. Once you do all of that rewrite, you can go back and look at those scenes through the lens of, this is the style of my book now. What do I need to adjust in these scenes to make them fit this style? And, and the thing is you need some space right now. It's familiarity breeds contempt, and unfortunately all of that contempt is focusing back on you. So you need to like go into a different gallery and look at a different set of paintings.
I had somebody tell me once that you are not writing for the inner critic and you are not writing for your family. You
Mhm.
are writing for you and for your future audience.
Mhm.
So keep that in mind before you completely and totally just hack everything up too much.
Why do you think there's a different name on this?
Yeah. I love it. I'm looking at it going, I want to get a hold of it. So future audience, you know.
After reading chapter 2 last night, I'm like, give it to me. And I'm someone who doesn't really like reading spicy scenes. So that should tell you a lot right there. And chapter 2 is a spicy scene, not between the main characters, by the way.
Angel's got a really good point. The most
She does.
important is to see what you are more comfortable writing. Yeah.
See, like the only romance I've really read is fan fiction, and therefore
What's wrong with
it's
that?
Nothing wrong with that.
the spice level. So it's like that's what I'm most
What is
familiar
that
with.
new genetically engineered? The Skye genetically engineered a pepper from like a ghost pepper and a Nahion pepper, and it's now like literally rated as the like hottest pepper in the world.
I
I can't remember it's this guy in New Mexico. This guy in New Mexico is insane, by the way. And he just like randomly crossbreeds peppers to try to get as much of the spice level the highest rating, and it's now like 20 times spicier than a ghost pepper or something. It's like literally if you ate one of these raw, your mouth would bleed. And your internal organs would melt. Just, you know, it's basically you are consuming something you should not consume at this point. And you know, some dumb TikToker is gonna like, I'm gonna eat this, and then they're gonna die. They're gonna have bleeding ulcers for the rest of their life.
So you're basically melding different things together and it's fine. I mean, it's fine. You've already got an audience here that we're like, cool, we want to read that. But, you know, again, you just, whatever makes you comfortable. I think that you've been given a lot of advice that you got to go back and think over. And
I hope we've helped you and not made it worse.
that's my thing is I hope we've not made it worse.
But honestly, I think you just need to rework the story, you know, go, yeah. You know me, I honestly, I don't think there's any such thing as too many B plots, because I love me some B plots.
Mm-hmm.
And just, you know, skip the spicy scenes, work on the emotional, skip the lust mance, work on the romance, work on the adventure, work on the mafia twist, work on the saving Hadrian's mom, saving Victor's brother's soul.
Mm-hmm.
You know, work on those, and then you can come back to the spicy later, and you'll see where you need to tweak it. You'll literally, when you come back to them and read them on the third draft, like I had this with some of my battle scenes and some of my fight scenes, is when I went back like later and looked at them, I immediately saw what was wrong with them, where I needed to tweak them, how I needed to rewrite them to sound like the rest of the book. And I know it sounds, you're like, how can I just ignore these and work on the rest? Believe it or not, it will work.
Mm-hmm.
That break in space and time from what they are now to what they could be will blow your mind. And Rachel and Dawn did this. Skye has done this with some of her anthology pieces, taking that step back to take a break. Like, I went back through Relic of Time looking for a scene that I knew I had written. I went back looking for it and ended up going back like 4 years worth of drafts.
Mm.
And the way the writing was then compared to what it is now in the whole series was just like, I see it. I see exactly what I need to do to make this scene work.
Yeah, we had a whole side character decide that he was going to be the most important character in that moment. And it was just, we had written this years and years ago, and we had not even placed him in that position. And then all of a sudden we were like, wait a minute, He's connected to all three of these situations. Why not? So it's taking that time away, then coming back and rereading. I was like, oh, well, there you go. It solved the problem.
Yeah, I literally for Light of Jura that's coming out this month. I literally there's a scene at the beginning of Light of Jura that actually happened like 2 books ago. And I pulled it out and I moved it to become the opening scene of Light of Jura, just because it makes more sense there for not just for the story plot, but also for the technological development of the war and the values of certain characters, and literally opening the scene of why this colony and this particular weapon are so important. So it's work on the back first, work on the other sides of the story, the places where you feel like it's lacking, the places where the alpha readers went, oh, I think we need a little more of this, or oh, I think we need a little more of that.
They were like, we need more exposition. I was like, okay.
And another thing to take in to consideration too is your alpha readers. You've been struggling with whether or not this has been urban fantasy or paranormal romance. Mm-hmm. My only other suggestion is with your next set of readers, when they go through it, make sure the people who are reading it are people who are familiar with those two genres, so they can help you point out what is more urban fantasy versus what is more paranormal romance, so you can kind of get a better judge of that as well. And because I definitely had someone read one of my paranormal romance stories who was not familiar with the genre and was telling me stuff that is trope specific to that genre does not belong in my story. And you definitely don't want something like that. You want to make sure that the tropes that do belong in either your paranormal romance or your urban fantasy stay in your paranormal romance or urban fantasy. That's the stuff you don't want taken out. Or in the opposite way, you want to make sure you have some of that stuff in your story if it's missing and belongs there. So that would be my only last piece of advice, is with your next readership, make sure it's people who are familiar with those genres.
And ask them to make you a list of which tropes in which genres do you see? Mm-hmm. What percentage weight from this genre to this genre is it like 40-60? Is it 75-35? Mm-hmm. Or 25, 75-35, 65-35. Wow, I need more coffee. I can't even math this morning. You did, yeah.
We're writers.
Hey, you know me, I am all about the math. I actually created a formula for time travel. And the length of time it takes to time travel in my world, specific to the number of days of an orbital cycle of a planet.
She's got the math, girl.
It's all the math. Math makes everything easier.
Math, we tried to math. All right. Did we help you at all, or did we make it worse, Laura?
No, you helped.
Okay. That was the one thing I was afraid of when we started talking about this stuff. I was like, I don't know how much help I'll be. I don't know
go
if
down our own rabbit hole.
I think part of it is me wishing my characters would talk to me, because like I'm just making stuff up, man. Like I'm just making up words on a page. I don't see anything when I read or write. It's just my own voice reading the words out loud in my head. Like
aphasia, is that what it's called, or
aphantasia? Aphantasia. They're not real. They're just words made up on a page, and they won't talk to me.
Everyone talks about their characters talk to them. I'm like, what are you talking about? My characters don't talk to me.
My characters attack me. My characters shake me awake in the middle of hide and say, go write me. And I'm like, but I'm tired. I
Voice
wrote
notes.
literally
Voice
in the
notes.
car. Literally in the car with my husband last night. We had a day, and then he had to stop at one of the stores and go talk to some people. And I was like, do you mind if I just sit here in the truck while you go do that? And while he was inside dealing with Home Depot stuff for like an hour and a half, I wrote over 1,000 words for The Moon is Waxing.
Dang.
So yeah, I those of you whose characters don't talk to you, I actually envy you, because honestly, there are days when I feel like I have like MPD or something. So yeah, but I mean, and a way to get away from this is, do you have a way to set your document to read to you in like a male voice?
I think the default is a female.
Because if you need to listen to your book in a voice as different from your own, because you reading to yourself is one thing, you know this world. But
Do I
hearing hearing someone else read to you gives you a flip perspective on it. Also, change your font. I know that sounds like an insane thing. Like if you write in a specific font, change your font and change the color of the ink to blue.
Yeah, I changed it from Times New Roman to like Georgia.
Change it to something else. Change it to
I'm one of those weird people that writes in Comic Sans, and then when I change it to Times New Roman, because I have to have it something look completely different.
I write in Georgia and Callisto, and when I have to read it, you guys are gonna hate me. I change it to Sego.
I don't know that one.
That one off the top of my head.
Is it like
Okay, so
Windows?
since you don't have, and this is coming from somebody that does have that, I have a movie in my head. One suggestion that I would make is look up paranormal romance movies and maybe look at some scenes in the movies that might help you with the emotion part of adding stuff.
Yeah, because like one thing
Sorry.
that I think I dream that other people who can like actually talk to the characters have is, because you have a character that you can communicate with, you keep your characters in character. My characters go out of character by the end, and it's like,
It just makes your work a little bit more difficult. It's going to add an extra layer of work for you and research, I guess, because we see it, but you don't.
Mm-hmm. Changing the font and color can help make it different, so you can step outside of what you're looking at.
It's an actual psychological phenomenon. If you see something a specific way several times, your brain will fill in what is incorrect about it and let you think you've corrected it. They've actually proved this. They have taken digital photographs that someone has seen many, many times, altered it, handed it back to the person and said, has this changed? And they're like, no, it's the same photograph. And it's because your brain catches familiar points and then it fills in the rest. It's the whole thing of you've seen those things where like the words is, if you can read this, your brain has dyslexia and the letters of the words are all scrambled up, but it's the correct letters for that word with the first and last letter in the correct place, and all the letters in the middle are mixed up. Mm-hmm. Your brain does that. Your brain seeks familiarity. So your brain will fill in things that are wrong. And by changing the font and the color, it forces your brain to look at it like it is a new item. To change the voice reading the text to you forces your brain to process it as a new item. Mm-hmm. And it's a very it allows you to see things differently. Years ago, there was a thing where they used to tell people to write different characters in different colors because that forces you to see the weight of the time they spend on the page.
We
I
used
feel
to
like
do
that
that
could
in our
also
fan
help
fiction
see how
groups
much.
all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like differentiating the colors for the characters can also help you see how much screen time someone has versus another character too.
Yeah, there's a lot of tricks. And this is the thing. You are tricking your brain. You are tricking your brain to look at this thing that you have been working on for a long time as a new thing. And that will help you as a writer, because the problem is as writers, like I have a 15-step editing process because brain damage.
Also, see, viewing it as a movie script helps for me sometimes.
Yeah.
Which I guess is kind of the same thing as having the different characters in a different color, because then you can see how much time each one gets and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Raven, we use all the tricks. We use all the tricks to try to make our documents the best we can make them, because sadly as indie authors, we are already at an unusually high standard by readers, because there is this literal bias against indie authors that all of our work is crap. So going into it, you know, I have a friend who's trad published, and she had the mortifying discovery after going trad published that her first book has a typo in the first paragraph of the first page.
And nobody caught it.
And she had sent them, fix this typo. She had sent that to them. And they still published, the publishing company still published it with the typo.
Oops.
Ooh. The amount of I just want to kill myself and delete everything I ever wrote that she had over that is real. So yeah, it's as if you can find a way to make your brain process your book as a new thing that it is encountering, it will give you a new perspective on your book. Download the voices, download like weird voices, and have someone read it to you in New Zealand, or have someone with a strong Gaelic accent read it to you. Have someone from, if you're not from the South, or if you're not from the Northeast, have someone with those accents read it to you. Because having that layer of change, and it might seem insignificant, changing the font, it might seem insignificant, but it can literally reboot your brain on something that you've been going over and over and over and over and over, and you can't find the problem with it. And if that doesn't work, just go binge watch some anime or manga or K-dramas on Netflix.
You're getting ready to start the second draft of this, or you have started the second draft of this. How much of a break in between the first and second draft have you taken, if any at all?
Laura took no break.
2 months.
2 months? Okay.
Because I gave it to readers.
Okay. I was just curious about that.
So it took me 2 years to finish the first draft, because I kept getting pulled back to Seeds of Doubt with like my R&R from an agent. So like I did that, and I moved back in with my parents while my sister was here with her 3 kids. So I was on babysitting duty for 6 months. Yeah, so like it's been a long time, but I pantsed it. So now I am overwhelmed thinking I need to outline draft 2. So it's like I haven't legit outlined since my first book, where I did the whole plot embryo.
Do the reverse outline of the existing draft, and then write the outline that you want for the second draft next to it.
I'm making a table of what I like and my concerns are from draft 1 right now.
Okay. I think that will definitely help you. I have other questions here, but we're almost 2 hours into this stream. So I think this is a perfect time to edit. And I'm glad we were able to help you, because this was very, very good conversations to have. And even with just helping you, I feel like there were some people in the comments that maybe this helped them too. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here, guys, because I don't know about you guys, but 2 hours is a long time. And after
I'm empty. And an empty cup. Empty cup.
She needs coffee. So let's go ahead and wrap up here, and we'll do our outros. We'll start with Laura, and we'll go around, up and around, and then end back with me, and we'll wrap up here.
I am Lord Nettles. I have horror out, and it has these things called illustrations in it.
I love Tiny Shivers.
It's illustrated. I haven't read it yet. I'm terrible. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So, pretty fun. It has a bunch of different horror subgenres. So it's broken up into cosmic slithers, terrors of the mundane, angels and demons, the seeping supernatural, twisted psychology, shadowy gothic, mutated sci-fi, and holiday food horror. So, if you want horror from the perspective of a gingerbread man, give it a read. Yeah.
Okay, I am Rachel D. Adams. I have paranormal romance and urban fantasy books. I've got 5 of them out so far with Dawn McClellan, and we are continuing until we finish the series, and then some. So be sure to look out for that. And also, if you are a writer and author, I do host Aggressively Helpful Writing Advice on Substack, where I share other people's advice as well as my own through my experiences, and would love to help you out.
Hello, lovelies. Mama Maggie Ward, independent author, stroke survivor, migraine overcomer, coffee addict, Cafe Frappe 2025. Yes. I write in so many genres, which is why the lovely Eva made me this mug. I also have a Substack where I share #WhipChat, where I talk about different aspects of world building. I need to get back to posting those. Yeah, holidays are over. Time to get back to work. I have 2 books coming out this month. I have the next Relic of Time Wars, Light of Jura, which is Relic of Time Wars number 11. And I am republishing the first 3 of the Pagosa Cliffs and Enemies trilogy. I got them back from my publishing house. They will now be on my author page under my branding. I'm doing a little bit of rewriting. But yeah, so that one also comes out on the 13th of this month, and it is called The Wild Anemone. And so, yeah, I got the things and all the things. And ever since Sam Wicker started breaking the block, I have tried to be a regular here, because indie authors can only support other indie authors. And we're not going to charge you for a masterclass to come and spend time breaking the block with you. And yeah, we're happy to talk to anybody. And we are the first to admit that we know nothing, but here's what we've learned.
That needs to be a t-shirt. We know nothing, but here's what we've learned.
Well, the new Counting Crows song has a line in it that says, you know nothing. If you know nothing. So.
Oh, goodness me. All right. And if you're new here, my name is Skye. I am a fantasy author who typically writes paranormal romance under the name SD Hegyes. Sam over on Writer Sam Wicker is usually who hosts Breaking the Block. I am hosting it today because Sam is off celebrating her birthday.
And Gonzo's birthday is also this week. They have their birthdays are very close together.
Oh,
that's something that she and I have talked about is we both share almost identical zodiac charts with our spouses. I think it was me and Sam that talked about it. But yeah, our birthdays are just very close together to our spouses' birthdays.
That is cool. But it was very hard for me to get up this morning because I stream on Saturday nights very late. And like my stream ended at 1:00 this morning, and this stream started at 8:00 this morning. So, and Laura was here for the entire stream. So the fact that she's here this early, I'm really, really happy for her because I like Maggie. I try to be here for everyone, but I almost miss 90% of them because I'm just like, I'm too tired. I'm going to sleep again. Let's see what else. So go check out Sam's channel if you want to continue watching more Breaking the Block, because that is usually where it is hosted. And what else is going on? I am actually, after the stream ends, I have to set up streams because I did not do it last night after my stream ended, because we're going to be doing a writing challenge called the 7-Day Book Challenge come February 10th through the 16th. We just decided that last night on my stream.
Okay, so we're doing 7-day 10th to this. Okay, so I can work on, I am still working on the 85K 90 challenge. So I might overlap that into that because I've been doing so much formatting and stuff like that, non-writing things, that I am like way behind on the moon is waxing for the 85K 90 challenge, which is a January 1st to March 31st challenge, 85,000 words in 90 days.
I'm doing that challenge too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 7-Day Book Challenge, for those who don't know, is where you just try to write a book from start to finish. It can be a short story, poem, doesn't matter what it is, from start to finish within 7 days. And I have an anthology submission that's due beginning of March. The final version of it is, and I haven't fully written it yet. So that was why we were like, we should do the challenge. And I was like, let's do it.
You know me, I'm always up for the 7-day book challenge.
Oh, and there's also an AuthorTube anthology called Beltane. I don't know much about it because I have been sick for like 3 weeks, and it pops up on my feed every couple of days. But I don't.
I can tell you about that. So it's the Nicole Ford Thomas who did the Bog Hag and AuthorTube anthology to support Quill Cottage Animal Rescue, and a bunch of people submitted bog hag stories. I submitted one about a bog hag and a sparkly vampire speed dating. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. They are now doing a Beltane anthology. Do I have the link?
And you have wrench power, so you'll be able to share the link.
Okay.
I don't have links for anything because I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
Your story has to be under 5K words,
Yeah.
I believe. For
No
this.
chapters.
And you have to submit the application, because last time there were some people who were like, oh yeah, I submitted the application. And there were some people who were like, and it tells you that you have to do all of your own editing, and there were some people who did not do their editing. So yeah. There is the application link with all the rules and the limits for the Beltane anthology in it. Again, this is a charitable thing. It will go to support Quill Cottage Small Animal Rescue, a 501c3 recognized animal rescue. So yeah. There it is for the Beltane anthology. Again, Nicole Ford Thomas, if you go to her channel, she has the intro video for it. And yeah. Thank you for sharing the Ko-fi, Rachel, for the to get a cover for it.
Okay. This is for Wiccan Beltane, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're allowed to write any kind of Beltane themed thing.
So like the spring festival, like a May Day.
Spring festival. The story that I outlined is actually going to be the marriage proposal party between my two characters that were in the last book, and if you know anything, if you read it, you know that my bog hag is a foodie. She likes to cook. She's now dating a vampire who is also a foodie and thinks that she's wonderful. He's a cinnamon roll. And yeah, their Beltane engagement party, wedding party is going to get attacked by the ogres. So, because basically the bog hags have one rule: you don't hurt children, and the ogres are harvesting children and blaming the bog hags and all the other witches. So there's a war waiting. There's a war waiting to happen.
Basically, this is a short story that turned into a series.
Well, that's what happened with Daisy the Werecow.
Yep.
I wrote one story for Daisy the Werecow, and then it turned into a new story for 3 different Halloween anthologies, and now it's a 90,000 word novel that I need to edit and publish for next Halloween.
Not me over here with a short story that was an anthology. Two different short stories that were in 2 different anthologies that have now become 7 short story series themselves with different characters in each short story. I don't know what you're talking about at all.
Overwriters Anonymous.
Hello.
I am such an underwriter.
Yes, Dawn, I have a werecow, a poor werecow Daisy who did not want to be a human. But she was bitten by the Prince of the Minotaurs, and now she's just stuck with a human. And having to live as a human when she just wants to be a cow.
All right. Is there any other things that we need to add as far as announcements go? I think that was everything I know of currently. There's probably other things that I'm missing, but I'm out of the loop right now.
The Beltane thing is like the author tube thing going around right now. There are multiple reading challenges going around booktube right now. Herkyet is going around on the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do is going on Cordy's Stephanie Gillis channel. The Polar reads February just had a mystery and murder. There's like 2 or 3 different mystery and murder readathons going on through February. Romanceathon is going on. Oh my goodness, I don't have a list. I've just been seeing these tangible.
We'll have to come up with a list for next time because
if you go to Chelsea's channel, Tangible Reads, she talks about all of the different readathons going on right now and different things. Yeah, there is a lot, and we just came out of the under 1K subs AuthorTube BookTube marathon that lasted for a full week. Yeah, we're just trying to help other AuthorTubers and BookTubers build their channels. So that just finished, though. And March, the Sweet Treats Marathon that Jenna the Soul Writer is hosting.
Are applications still open for that? Anyone know? Because I don't remember.
I know there are slots open. I am modding and filling in. Where is it?
I've got to look closer at that because I volunteered and everything, but I haven't seen any updates in a while.
Jenna's got some stuff going on. It doesn't look like the sign up sheet is still.
Okay.
I got a 404 when I tried to pull up the sign up sheet. So I don't know if the sign up sheet is still there.
Okay. All right. So that is coming up, and that's all I can think of. So we're going to go ahead and end here because we are almost at the 2 hour mark.
It's 10 o'clock Mountain Time, noon Eastern Time.
Let's wrap up. All right. So thank you all for joining us today. We hope you have had some fun and learned some things and done all the things. And we're going to go ahead and end this here. So I'm going to press the button now. Bye, everyone.